Here we have the beginnings of our map. For a game that we're going to play this weekend, we're scheduled for this Sunday with my friend Piotr. Piotr is a fellow history buff, just like myself, and he is, sometimes he'll put in like these little requests every once in a while. Well, he'll say, hey, can we stream this, or, can we game that, can we, run this in Panzer Leader, can we run that in Valor and Victory? He is, quote, responsible for a lot of our stuff that we did, oh lord, when was it? September of 2019, for the 80th anniversary of the German invasion of Poland. We recreated part of the very outset of World War II with that Panzer Leader series. We then did Dien Bien Phu in Valor and Victory. Yeah, we've done all kinds of stuff. So the latest sort of request was for us to take a look at part of the Battle of Monte Cassino here in Valor and Victory. I agreed with his choice almost immediately because, I mean, he wants to do Italy, and I should say his choice of game systems. Big big command tactical armor games like Panzer Leader are kind of a tough sell in Sicily and Italy, because there weren't really a whole lot of big time tank battles in those campaigns. A lot of infantry. I mean, obviously there was armor there, but it's more of a fire support kind of a role. So in gaming terms, you want to look at an infantry focused game rather than an armor focused game. Hence, Valor and Victory as opposed to Panzer Leader. So, for those of you who may not know, the Battle of Monte Cassino was an absolute nightmare. I mean, seriously, it was bad. Let me see if I can find some... Okay, here we go. So here we have a map of Italy, as it looked in 1943 and 44. The Americans and the British landed initially, do this super fast, down here in Salerno. So let me get my little pen that is working for a change. Yay! All right, so the first landings were down here at Salerno. Okay, and then the Allies sort of pushed up this way with the American 5th Army up here under General Mark Clark, and the British 8th Army, formerly of the North African Desert, obviously 8th Army, Desert Rats, not all the same divisions, and not the same commander. So we had, let me see here, we had let me make that green, just because Americans. Sort of a khaki green. Let me not get too picky with this. Again, we had the American 5th under Mark Clark, and then we had the British 8th. These two are combined into the 15th Army Group under General Harold Alexander. He's sort of the Norman. I should say he's sort of the Eisenhower here in Italy. Although technically he reported to Eisenhower too. So he's in charge of the two Allied armies. Again, British 8th and American 5th. They were trying to advance up the Italian boot here. This was supposed to be a quick and easy campaign. Churchill thought it would be the, quote, soft underbelly of Europe, sort of the back door. It wasn't easy. Anybody who's been to Italy knows it's a very, very narrow country that's perfect for a defender. Just a nice short line of defense. He's going to have no problems setting up one hell of a line. Whoa, wrong button there. He's going to have absolutely no problem setting up, one hell of a line of defense. Let me get rid of that for a second here. I've pretty much ruined my map here, but that's okay. I just want to save it. And obviously, up and down this the spine of Italy, so to speak, is some very, very tall mountains. So clearly, we're looking at some insane defensive capabilities here, or I should say some defensive advantages for the Germans. So what we wind up with is the Germans. He's under command of, or I should say, the Germans are under command of a field marshal named Albert Kesselring. Albert Kesselring, or Smiling Albert, as the Allies kind of called him, is really one of the most underrated generals in German military in World War II. Guys like Rommel get all the credit. Kesselring was Rommel's boss, and half of Rommel's victories were because of guys like Kesselring. Kesselring was he was in a unique position. He pretty much ran the Mediterranean war effort for the Germans through the entirety of World War II. He was not only in charge of running, a naval campaign throughout the Mediterranean Sea, but also the air campaign over the Mediterranean Sea, and of course the air and sea and land campaign in North Africa. That was all one big mess as far as the Germans were concerned. He was also in charge with coordinating and liaising with the Italians, which was no easy feat, and trying to get their military to actually do something worthwhile, try to make the most of their military, which was not as bad as history tends to remember. There's a lot of good things going on in the Italian military. And Kesselring is a big, part of why, they were able to get some kind of leverage out of those resources. So Kesselring is in charge up here. And again, we have the British 8th, and the American 5th armies. So what Kesselring does is he sets up a series of lines. The first one is there. They call it the so-called Gustav line. And then later on, as he keeps getting pushed back, he sets up the Caesar line, which doesn't do very well. It doesn't last very long. But later on, he sets up the Gothic line way back here. And this succession of lines that the Germans kept setting up as they kept falling back. I mean, the time it took the Americans to get from Salerno up here to the northern part of Italy is September 1943 to pretty much the end of the war. And in Normandy, the Americans and the British and the Canadians and all their other allies traveled like 5 or 6 times the distance in half the time against much more powerful opponent, much more powerful German divisions. Strategically, Italy's a flat-out failure. If you want to look for a campaign that Germans actually kind of win in World War II, look to Italy. Kesselring is the General Veers of, to use a Star Wars reference, he's the General Veers of the Germans in World War II. He's the one bad guy general who actually kind of wins. He was tasked with keeping Italy out of Allied hands. He didn't quite keep Italy out of Allied hands, but he definitely kept the Americans and the British and the Poles and the New Zealanders and everybody else down here. He kept the Allies from getting into Austria and southern Germany and southern France. By the time you get to August 1944, the Allies have pretty much given up on Italy. They launched instead Operation Dragoon into southern France, and they pretty much bypass Italy. Italy's kind of left on the dust heap. No disrespect to the men who fought and died here, but it was a bad idea. It was what happens when you listen to Churchill too much, and it didn't go well. The Americans and the Allies in general, I shouldn't keep saying the Americans, the Allies in general did not get a payoff down here. And you have some very, very bad battles. Salerno was not exactly a picnic, the initial landings. That was the Normandy from hell. That was the Normandy where you actually have an actual Axis Navy helping out the defenders and an actual German Air Force, unlike, Normandy. It sees the Battle of Monte Cassino, which we will get into, obviously, in just a few minutes. And it sees the horrible disaster at Anzio. I'm sure everyone's heard of Anzio. So, the general plan at Anzio, and this sort of feeds into Cassino a little bit, the Allies land here at Salerno, and they start to kind of push up this line here. They get halted by the Gustav line. They're not getting anywhere. Obviously, it's a very short front with very secure flanks on both sides. Allied tanks can't swim in the water, so it's a great defensive line, and Kesselring's making the most of it with what little resources he has. The Allied plan is to outflank the Gustav line and land here at Anzio. And what Anzio is going to do, or supposed to do, they land, I think it's the U.S. 6th Corps under General Lucas. They land there at Anzio, and their idea is to, number one, snatch Rome on the fly. You'll notice Anzio is right next to Rome. So if the Allies land at Rome behind all the German lines, all the German units are back here. There's nothing back here. You pop up almost unannounced in the German backfield, and boom, snatch Rome. Didn't happen. The Americans sort of vacillated. The American commander on the ground wasn't sure what was going on. He wasn't sure if he was up against stronger resistance than he was really up against. And before you know it, the Germans really did have some units mobilized around Rome, and the golden opportunity to snatch Rome, the first Axis capital of the war, the chance to snatch up Rome for free, was lost. due to basic hesitation, procrastination, confusion, bad command. It just didn't go too well. There are some defenders of Lucas and what American Sixth Corps actually did there. I'm making it sound kind of simple here, but long story short, take your first shot of the night. Anzio is, I think Churchill likened it to a beached whale. It just kind of lays there. And now they're under power. And now instead of Anzio rescuing the main line down here at Cassino, the opposite has to happen. These guys are pinned down, cut off, they're about to get annihilated. They have to get rescued by the guys at the front, breaking through the front door at Monte Cassino. So, yeah, not exactly a huge Allied success story. To get through Monte Cassino, I'm sure everybody has seen plenty of documentaries, watched plenty of movies. Hello, Marty Schaefer. Welcome to the stream now. I had a history teacher who was at Anzio. He had some crazy stories. Yeah, Anzio is the great victory that never was. It really could have unlocked the whole Italian peninsula. And again, I'm not a huge expert on Italy. It's probably one of my thinnest books on my World War II history bookshelf, which was another great idea. Another great thing about Piotr suggesting this plan. So, great idea. It's a great chance to learn about some of this stuff. But yeah, it just didn't work out. Okay, so here we're going to zoom in a little bit on actually the Battle of Monte Cassino itself. We'll look at this one first here. What do we got? Do I have two maps of the same map? Yes, I do actually. All right, so we'll start with this one. This is a straight out, top-down map. North is up north. You know what I'm going to do this time? I'm going to make a new layer so that I can doodle all over the map and not ruin it. In fact, I'm even going to call the layer Jim's Doodles because reasons. Okay, so here we have the actual town of Cassino. This was like your average Italian, South Italian town, and it's got some roads leading to it, some railroads. It's all fine, it's all good until you can see the terrain here. Holy crap, the mountains just rise out of the earth here, and you've got rivers, you've got all kinds of problems, and the tallest mountain here is right outside of the actual town of Cassino itself. We're talking about Monte Cassino. So Monte Cassino is, like the mountain of Cassino. I don't speak Italian, but that's the rough idea there. And yeah, it's bad. It rises straight up out of the ground. It's not like a hill in Panzerleader, or your average. I'm gonna pile some old laundry underneath my cigar box battle map and make a little hill. No, this thing's a freaking mountain, dude. It comes straight up out of the ground. I can't remember how many thousands of feet tall it is. It is a major, major terrain feature, not to be messed with. I can't remember when the first Battle of Monte Cassino was. I think the Americans went after it first. 36 U.S. infantry went after it first. It did not go well. Actually, I can't remember the actual order of all the battles, so I probably shouldn't say that. But first Battle of Monte Cassino, I believe, was in February of '44, and we see here the Rapido River. This was a pretty thick river, at least in winter when it was semi-frozen, and definitely in the spring when all this meltwater came out of these hills and just sort of flooded that river as it would flow this way, towards the Mediterranean. Yeah, it didn't go well. The Allies couldn't get enough supplies up there across that flooded river. The Germans by now, by the way, have formulated a nice little paratrooper division, German Fallschirmjägers. I believe it was first Fallschirmjäger, or maybe it was third. I think it was a combination of them both. Pierce probably knows better than I do. In fact, I know he does. About what exactly German paratroopers were here. These guys obviously are no longer used as actual paratroopers. They don't jump out of planes anymore, but they are nevertheless superb light infantry. And you give them good terrain like this, you give them good fire support, and you give them some nice thick buildings, and it is rough, man. The Americans are just getting the hell kicked out of them. You come up to the second Battle of Monte Cassino. I think the Free French had a crack at it. I may be getting the order of these wrong, but it didn't go well either. They got friggin' slaughtered. The body count at Monte Cassino was absolutely through the roof. Now, one interesting thing about the Battle of Monte Cassino is you have all these little buildings around here. You You have this little high ground called Hangman's Hill at point 435. You've got the Continental Hotel, which we will see on our actual map. You have the castle. There's a tiny miniature castle here at point 193. You have point 236. These are all little high grounds. This tiny little village here. You've got a little piece of high ground here at 175. You've got an old Roman Colosseum. There's all these little points of high ground that the Germans are using, A, for defense, and B, also for some actual, observation points. Now, the Americans are getting slaughtered coming up this hill. The French are getting slaughtered coming up this hill. The British come down here. We'll talk about them in a second. Pretty much we're talking about, I say British, what we're really talking about here is 2nd New Zealand Infantry Division. And that includes some British troops, a lot of New Zealander troops, obviously, and even some Rajputana, I'm not even saying that right, rifle regiments. Rajputana, you know what, I'm not even going to try it because I'm just going to keep butchering it. Yeah, so, they're not doing well either. And by now the Allies are sort of convinced. They're like, the Germans are using the actual abbey here as an observation point. It's impossible for them not to be. There's no way that they constantly have every single truck convoy under artillery fire. Every time one of our guys pokes his head up out of a trench, a German sniper takes his head off. Every time we try to cross or put a new pontoon bridge over the Rapido River, long-range German artillery from way back here, 15 centimeters, 10.5 centimeters. They're big, heavy guns. I think they even had some 17 centimeters back here. The really long-range stuff. They're just arcing fire, and they're like every round is going right in the pickle barrel. There's no way they're not using the Abbey as an actual observation point. It's the highest ground. It's a huge, old, I can't remember how old it was. It was like almost 1,000 years old. Several hundred years old at least. Huge fortified stone building, beautiful building. It was an abbey. It was a religious site. It was a church, basically. It was an abbey. So the rules of war say you can't use it as, as a military feature or whatever. And believe it or not, the Germans were not. The German Fallschirmjäger, the German paratroopers were playing by the rules. Germans in World War II catch a lot of shade. 95% of the time they deserve every damn bit of it. But this time they were actually playing by the rules, and they were saying, you know what, this is an actual, holy site. Except for like maybe a hospital, if some of the some of the monks in the abbey are actually, giving, medical care to some of our wounded or something. Outside of that, they're not using it. They're using all these other positions that are just as good almost, and much more, widespread. But the actual abbey itself, they're not. And the Allied commanders were like, we have to bomb that abbey. We have to bomb it. We can't do it. We can't bomb holy site. Well, the Germans brought it into the war. Well, actually, it turns out they didn't. The Americans were like, well, we're bombing it anyway. It was a very controversial decision. There's some great footage of it on YouTube. I say great. It's not a very, pleasant episode of the war. But they hit that thing with, I can't remember how many bombers. And you want to see, a 700-year-old, stone architectural wonder just literally evaporate in seconds. It's actually pretty bad. The irony is, once the Americans bombed it, they made it a military feature by the laws of war, and now the Fallschirmjägers did occupy it, and the rubble of the abbey turned out to be just as good, if not better, of a defensive position than the actual abbey was intact. The only thing harder to attack in actual warfare with infantry than a big stone building is a ruined big stone building, because now it's not so high, it's not so easy to see, and it still offers all the protection. You can't go through any hallways, there are no windows, there's no gates, it's just a big pile of rubble that the enemy can really use. So we had the third Battle of Monte Cassino. This was mostly, again, a 2nd New Zealand Division with some other supporting units mixed in with their, order of battle. That didn't work. And then finally, very, very near, pretty much right around D-Day, like in late May, I think it was, maybe early June, came the 4th Battle of Monte Cassino. Again, I might be getting some of these dates a little off. Where, believe it or not, it was the Americans again, followed up by some Poles, I believe. I think it was the Poles who actually finally cracked that position. Free Polish troops. Which is why when Piotr asked if we could do the Battle of Monte Cassino, that's what he would want to do, but he wants to do something earlier, so cool. Okay, so the part of this battle that we're going to be working on this weekend is, oh, that's a little bit, hold on a minute, a little bit too big there, is a Valor and Victory map drawn to the correct scale, by the way, roughly encompassing something like this. Hill 230 or point 236, the Continental Hotel, and the castle, air quotes, Castle Hill at point 193. So the German line at the time, this is I think May 19th, March 19th. Hold on. Okay, it's not going to tell me the actual. Oh, it's March. That's what I was getting wrong. It's 16. So okay, that's okay. So February was the first. I can't remember when the second one was. Probably getting those mixed up. 15 to 20 March or so is literally the third Battle of Monte Cassino. We're looking at it right there. And then later on in May is the fourth. And the fourth Battle of Monte Cassino when it finally cracks open. Again, Monte Cassino is right in front of Rome, give or take, 40 or 50 miles. And so Rome falls, I believe it's on June 4th, 1944. It's supposed to be this big crowning achievement. It's like one more reason Italy was just a terrible campaign. The Allies finally break through. They finally crack the Gustav line. They go right through the Caesar line, and they go into Rome, what's supposed to be the crowning achievement of this campaign. The first Axis capital to fall, I think it was June 4th, 1944. June 5th, 1944, the very next day, the first planes of the 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne, and 6th Airborne, the British Airborne, are taking off for Normandy. They got the limelight for all of about 12 to 36 hours. Before, of course, the morning of 6 June 1944 rolls around, and who cares about Italy anymore? And again, the size of the cemeteries that are around, that are currently around this area, are sobering, to say the least. Okay, so here's a bit of a 3D view of our intended battlefield. Again, there it is in, straight top-down view. Here in sort of, three-quarters view is what we're going to be looking at. Again, we're cornered on point 236, the Hotel Continental, also held by the Germans. The German line is kind of like this at the moment. Okay, because first of 6 of the Essex Rifles have been sort of pushed back, and the Allies hold Castle Hill here at point 193. And believe it or not, what the Germans are doing on 19 March 1944 is mounting a counterattack. Again, this map is kind of inverted for some reason, but they're mounting a counterattack out of the southwest, down the slope of Monte Cassino. There's the actual monastery I was talking about before, way up on the top of the hill. And they're climbing back up the opposite slope of this much smaller Castle Hill. Is what the German objective is. So here's our map so far. Again, this is, north is straight up. We have, again, Germans are coming out of the southwest. What we're going to be looking at here is, let me find something I can draw on here without wrecking everything. Cool. This is going to be, hello, what have we here? Why aren't we working? Oh, there it is. It was working. The Germans are going to be here at point 236. The Germans are going to be here at the Hotel Continental. I realized I put the Hotel Continental a little too far north. And again, they're advancing south off this slope, and they're trying to drive northeast and get to what this is going to be point, what did I say it was, 163? 165. Sorry about that. This is going to be point 165 right here in hex India 4. Again, point 236, Hotel Continental, and then we're going to have the actual ruins of that mini castle that I was talking about here on Castle Hill. And this is point 193. Come on, pen, work for me here. There's going to be point 193. So those are going to be the general objectives for Sunday's game. We are going to have a company-sized element. I don't have the notes right in front of me. Piotr knows. I have it written down somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me. The exact elements of the units that are in question. The Germans have elements of, I think it's 1st and 3rd Fallschirmjäger divisions, or it may be like 1st and 3rd, or 3rd Battalion of the 1st Fallschirmjäger, or the 3rd Regiment of 1st Fallschirmjäger. I'll have to get the details. Again, this game is a work in progress. I'm having it ready for Friday. For Sunday. Suffice it to say, we got a bunch of German paratroopers down here. Our friends, the Fallschirmjäger. Elite German light infantry. No big tanks. This is Italy. It's going to be an infantry game. And they're going to be coming down over this open ground here and trying to push up and take some of these objectives up here. I'm going to drop plenty of craters into this map. I'm going to drop plenty of rock piles. I have photographs where the cameraman was basically standing here and photographing this way. So I have almost a perfect line of sight in the photograph of what the German ground looked like to make this attack. Pretty much, again, off the slope of a tall hill, through a shallow, rocky, broken up, almost like a World War I battlefield, kind of a moonscape of craters. Again, this is the 3rd Battle of Monte Cassino. And to kind of push back up the slope of this smaller hill to take the ruins of that castle. I don't think I have any of those photographs handy to show you guys, but Google image search Castle Hill at Monte Cassino, 1944, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then up here on the Allied side, again, we have elements of 6th Brigade. Actually, part of 6th Brigade is 25th Regiment. So 25th Regiment, 6th Brigade, 2nd New Zealand Division. I'm not sure how many of them are going to be here because they took this ground and then they kind of left it so they could attack further over here to the northwest, and they sort of handed off this ground to the elements, to the units that are actually in play here. Now these units actually aren't part of 2nd New Zealand Division. They're from the next division in the Corps, so to speak, and they are part of, I can't remember the regiment or the brigade. Actually, I take that back. I don't remember the brigade. I do remember the division. It is 4th Indian Division. That's going to sound weird in a second here, but let me explain. The 4th Indian Division, and it's going to have, I think, 2 companies of 1st and 4th Essex Rifles. Hardcore, white bread, English boys, from Essex, literally. What they're doing in an Indian division, I'll explain in just a second. There will also be elements of 1st and 6th Raj Rifles that I talked about before. Now, for those of you who may not know, and again, if people in the chat want to correct me, pack a lunch, go for it, because you have a lot of explaining to do. British regiments are bewildering as far as how they're put together and how they are, how these battalions within the regiment are actually sort of, when a battalion is synonymous with a regiment in the constructs of the British military and when it isn't. Basically, what I used to do when I was trying to build these games was I would see something like 1/4th Essex Rifles. I'm like, oh, that's the 1st and 4th Battalion of the Essex Rifle Regiment. No. That is not what it means. It means elements of 1st and 4th kind of mashed together. So what the American military will do is when 2 regiments or 2 battalions or 2 whatevers get into a combat and they take a hell of a lot of casualties, they'll disband one and just fold the survivors into the other. You'll have Alpha, or in those days, Able and Baker companies, say 116th Regimental Combat Team that get out of the water at Omaha Beach. They get the living hell shot out of them. And they'll just say, you know what, fold the remnants of Baker Company into Able Company and we'll just call it a day. We'll basically disband Baker Company and maybe we'll raise a new one. What the British will do is that will actually keep both names. Also, there's, like I said, the Essex Regiment, Essex Rifle Regiment, which is a number of battalions that are training troops and feeding replacements into the battle, and then there's always a 1st Battalion. 1st Battalion are the actual guys in the front line. Now, who's actually in 4th Battalion? How much of it is 4th Battalion? Who knows? And the same thing here with the Raj Rifles, because again, these are troops from what was, a British Dominion at the time, different areas of India. You have to be careful when you talk about Indian troops in World War II, because not all of them come from what we call today India. India in 1940, before, you know, Indian independence. World War II India includes what we call today Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan. It's not just, you know, what we think of today as India. So like Gurkhas are mostly from Nepal. Not all of them, most of them. But they were all considered Indian troops back in the day, even though today they aren't. This is especially true when you consider some of the ethnic and religious differences between guys from, oh, I don't know, say Pakistan, which is a strict Muslim country, and Hindu country of India. Those are two little teams of people that don't get along so well all the time. And as far as the British military goes concerned, they're all from India because, you know, they didn't really care. So again, that's why you have some of these sets, like the bolt action set for the Western Desert Campaign. They give you two different sets of heads and the sprue for different kinds of headgear, because some of, quote, Indian troops were actually what we would call today Pakistanis, or Bangladesh, or Nepal, or, you know, different areas that are technically no longer India. So, if you see some strange counters on Sunday, as I try to put a little bit of 1st of the 6th Raj Rifles on here, or 1st and 6th Raj Rifles on here, you'll know why. So I'm going to mess around with this counter, just with this map a little bit. It's mostly, I mean, the highlights are drawn. As you can see, I am using, let me get the better one here. In fact, go ahead and close this. Yeah, again, you kind of have to remember that this map is like turns upside down for some reason. So you see where these two creeks sort of pour off the top of Monte Cassino here and flow out beside, or I should say behind Hill 193. That's sort of what we're looking at here. They flow off of Monte Cassino, they join together, and then they're going to flow behind point 193. That's where the actual castle is going to be. And again, I think I put the hotel too far to the north. So let me move some buildings around. Again, I'm running on my old computer here. I have OBS open, obviously, and a pretty chunky Photoshop file. So if this is kind of chugging along here, if we're dropping any frames, I do apologize. And make sure I'm not missing anything in YouTube. Cool. So when I draw these, ooh, wait a minute, I forgot about that. When I draw these buildings, well, actually I shouldn't say I draw these buildings. When I put these buildings onto my map, how about we merge them, dude? Merge the layers. I keep them all as separate layers over here. You see my little layer file, or not my layer file, my layer dialog box here. And this allows me to, you know, pick them up and move them around. They're not all one image yet. So I'm trying to get these buildings to kind of look the same way. These are originally churches built for Valor and Victory. Oh man, I just kind of screwed up here. Alright, hold on. And I pretty much just copied them over a couple times in different sizes. And I sort of Lego blocked them together a little bit to make sort of a half-ass hotel. A big, almost like a ski resort kind of a hotel. So I'm trying to get the two sides of the buildings to be symmetrical here. Why won't that delete, please? Okay, there it is. Wow, this is running slow. Again, Photoshop is no joke, and this computer runs Photoshop fine. What it doesn't run so fine is Photoshop and OBS at the same time. But no worries, we will get through it. And again, this isn't going to be like a super long or serious stream. We're just making sure that something goes up for the general show today. It's still not together, is it? Damn it. Can I please... There we go. Merge some layers. What do you say? Okay, now my hotel is all in one piece. The elevations that I have here in my map are pretty solid as far as historical accuracy goes. The roads are almost, I won't say they're perfect, but they're close. The reason the roads have to somewhat deviate a little bit in some places from their actual historical, what's the word, course and location, is the game tends to run better, or at least more smoothly, when the roads conform to the hex grid. And these are very, very short, sharply angled, what they call in the mountains switchbacks. Those of you who live in more mountainous parts of the U.S. or who have been around, tall elevation or whatever, ski towns, ski resorts, know what a switchback is. It's when a road literally has to sort of caterpillar crawl its way up a mountain. Because if you built a road straight up the slope of the mountain, no vehicle could climb it. It would literally, the vehicle would literally just kind of slide down the road again. So what the road does, again, I'm probably preaching to a lot of people who already know this, is, let me leave this here. What they'll do instead is, the road will kind of like hedge its way up the slope of the hill and then kind of turn around. It's a switchback. I mean, you guys probably know what that is. You don't see them here in Florida very often, I gotta say. I mean, I think we have some switchbacks on our landfill, but that's about it. That's not the closest thing we have to a mountain down here in Florida. These are gigantic garbage piles. But when the dump truck has to go to the top of that garbage pile, it literally has these little switchbacks. It's just a way to build a road so it goes up a slope. In fact, I think I may still have some visible that I can show you guys. I mean, I can show you the switchbacks I have drawn here. These are two little hairpin switchbacks in my road structure. No big mystery there. But the map is not really big enough to really show you what that looks like. Okay, here we go. So obviously, if you were trying to build a road here and you just said, okay, I'm going to build a road that leads from the Hotel Continental straight up the Abbey. Okay, I don't care what kind of car you have, you're going to go up, 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 and you just slide back down the hill. It's not going to work. So what they do instead is we're going to build a road that takes the hill a piece at a time. It switches back. You can see where it's slowly kind of, corkscrewing, or not corkscrewing. It's sort of, switchbacking its way up the hill. So again, that's how you build a road when you want to go up a really, really steep hill. I keep telling you guys how steep this freaking hill, what this mountain was. But in case people tune into our Sunday stream and they see these very bonkers looking roads, there is a reason for that. And it is historically pretty accurate. Again, if you got here with a surveying tool, it may not be perfect, but again, I have to make it kind of conform to the hex grid. The last thing you want is a road that kind of doesn't pay attention to, what hex it's in, because then it leads to rules confusion. Like, this unit's following this road. Well, which hex is it in? Well, it has to stay on the road, so it's between hexes, and now you have line of sight problems, you have range problems. Roads are very important features, obviously. So a lot of units are going to use the roads. The road always has to be very clearly in a certain hex. Okay, so there's the very, very tip of the town, actually Monte Cassino. It's not really a ruined town. It hasn't been bombarded that much. I've sort of shifted the position of the Continental Hotel. That was a very large, heavily fortified structure. It's now more kind of where it's supposed to be. In the southern part of the map. So again, that's one German flank is anchored there. One German flank is going to be anchored here in hex Bravo 9. That is going to be point 236, and that's going to pretty much describe the German setup area and jump off line. And here's where I remember that I don't have any craters on this map. Oh no. I usually have stuff like this saved. have to find some craters later and put them on there. Damn it. Hold on 2 seconds, guys. World War I, Valor and Victory. I might find some craters there. So here's a map I drew of a ruined town in World War I when we did our World War I expansion in Valor and Victory. In late 2018, we were doing the 100th anniversary commemorative series on the very last battles of World War I. But I need a ruined castle, basically a ruined stone building, and lots of craters. And look at that, I have some. Oh, do I? Oh, come on, I don't have any craters in here. Oh no! How is that possible? Ugh, that's annoying. I have some stone walls I can borrow though, I'll do that. So hopefully these are still scaled to the right size where they fit on the hex grid. They still fit on the hex grid. Okay, cool. So what I'll probably do is build some of my castle out of these stone walls. The ruined castle that we see up here on point 193. Now I'm back on the hunt for some more craters. I could have sworn I had craters in this map. Yeah, this town has seen better days. Somewhere in southern Belgium, the last days of World War I. World War I Super Trench Board. World War I map template. Half the time, the biggest challenge for me is remembering where the hell I put shit. Okay, here I have some craters. Craters are not really a feature in Chapter and Verse, Valor and Victory. But obviously when I created World War I in Valor and Victory, obviously I didn't create, the Valor and Victory. That's Barry Doyle. Created this game. Fantastic game. Look for it on Board Game Geek. There's a great community over there. In fact, I need to get more active over there. People keep asking me for all these expansion materials, World War I, World War Vietnam, Somalia, and I keep not getting around to it. I am kind of sorry about that. Alright, cool. So I have plundered what I need off of this one. Those are kind of garish, so what I usually do for these kind of assets is mute them down a little bit in transparency. That's probably a little too much. So you can adjust the transparency or opacity of a certain item. That's probably pretty good. Alright, yeah, and then we're just going to pepper the hell out of this battlefield with craters, because if there was anything you saw plenty of at Monte Cassino, it was craters. Another little pro tip for those of us who work in Photoshop, label your layers, because it makes things easier later. This is crater type 2. And we're just going to copy the bejesus out of these things. Because I want many craters. I want all the craters. There's 2. There's 4. There's 8. And now we're at 16, but we're going to copy this one more time. Probably get 32 crater counters. That's a lot of craters. Cool. So now we'll just literally scatter these around. What we did was when we created, or I shouldn't say created, when we modified Valor and Victory for World War I, we made up a bunch of new terrain types. Obviously, we changed the way trenches work, because obviously Valor and Victory does have trenches in it, but these are like World War II trenches. like slit trenches. Temporary sort of trenches that infantry will dig for the night, like to sleep in, almost like, foxholes, strung together kind of thing. A trench in World War I is a very different beast, clearly. So we made up pieces for that. We made up, rules for that. As I scatter these craters around, one thing you may notice is that I'm rotating some of them at like random angles, just so they don't look so samey. I mean, obviously they will be samey because I just copy pasted them like 30 times. And then, once in a while, just stick 2 in there, kind of Bob Ross style. Happy craters on your devastated, shell-ruined battlefield. That used to be a beautiful part of Italy is now a shell-scarred wasteland. Craters tend to ruin roads, so it will negate the road effects in Hex India 10. So yeah, these Sunday games that we set up here virtually, they kind of look fun, and they are fun. They look like an easy way to run a game on a Sunday, especially during times of our interesting quarantine situation, when it's tough to get around a table with friends face to face. And it is fun. There is just a little bit of work involved to set it up. I wonder if I got too many craters. So I'm trying not to have craters be in too many straight lines. Like this one, there's 3 of them almost equidistant here in Alpha row. Alpha, what is that? Alpha 4, Alpha 8, and Alpha 12. That looks weird. So I'll probably just make that a different kind of crater so it doesn't look so obvious. Yeah, you want your battlefield to look random. Of course, if I wasn't so lazy, I would, make 20 different kinds of craters, so I wouldn't have to worry about this. But all right, I have literally made too many craters, so I will delete some of my extras. We also created dead trees, which again is not in Valor and Victory. I think they have orchards, which are like light trees. Game mechanic wise, they're kind of the same. They are trees that, unlike regular trees, do not affect movement. Oh no, I'm moving a hill. They do not affect movement, and they do not block line of sight. Because you're literally shooting through, a group of dead trees. What they do affect is they do provide a negative modifier, so there is a bit of a hindrance there, but they don't actually block line of sight, line of fire. And unlike regular trees, they do not block movement. Or regular trees don't block movement, but regular trees hinder movement. These trees do not hinder movement. Oh god, I forgot I had a whole extra stretch of terrain up here. That's okay, these craters were a little thick. I was like, oh god, I put too many craters on here. So now I have the opportunity to kind of thin them out. Probably not the most exciting stream you've ever seen, but these maps do not appear by magic. Alright, and again, later on I'll come back. I'll probably smooth out some of these contour lines, like that one there looks pretty jagged. I don't like the looks of that right there. I'll probably come in here and smooth things out. I also have some terrain texture, if I can find them. Where are you? I saw you. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little bit of semi-transparent terrain wobbling around there in the center of the map. It just makes the map look a little bit nicer. It makes the ground look a little bit more torn This is like the good stuff that you see in some of the terrain mats that Chris has been talking about up there in Walkabout Games. Obviously, I'm not making a physical terrain map here, but we do try to create a little bit of a texture in some parts of our map. So hopefully you see like this broken shale, kind of a rock texture I'm installing here at the top of Hill 193. Again, this is where the ruined castle is going to be. So unlike the manicured, like preserved castles that you see in England, where they actually take care of the castles, these castles don't like grow up out of manicured lawns. There's huge rubble piles of rock and shale and broken stone and God knows what else, brick and mortar, who knows, all over the place. Human bones. Who knows what's clustered around these little castles. So this was a castle that was pretty much in ruins before the Battle of Monte Cassino started. You can imagine what it looks like now. Okay, so yeah, you'll see like little patches of ground where there's a little bit of an extra, I don't know, maybe you can't see it on your screen, but there's a little bit of extra texture. It just breaks up this empty green sort of spongy feel that I've got. So the map looks a little bit more appealing. Because we are trying to stream in some better resolutions. Hopefully you guys have noticed. Our computers kind of hate us because they get kind of hot when we do that, but when we have good resolution in Twitch or in our live streams in general, we try to have good resolution of our map so that you have something nice to look at, not just high resolution. Something is up with the music. I sound fine. Something is up with the music. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. I still hear it fine. Let me take a look at my soundboard for a minute. Yeah, my soundboard is still playing it. Is it too soft, Jen, or do you not hear it at all? It sounds like it's slowing down. Well, it's on a loop. And it's not, super dramatic music to begin with. Calm, chilled out, sort of virtual hobbycraft music. Okay, so, yeah, this map, I'll clean it up a little bit. If you look at pictures of what the Battle of Monte Cassino looked like, what the terrain looked like, you see it's kind of a sparse map. I will put some rock piles in here. There are lots of craters the Germans can use for cover. I'm not going to send them, along a line that runs basically, from hill, where are we at here? I should say from point 236. Why is that not working? There you go. From point 236 to the Continental Hotel. I'm not going to line them up in a row and just have them charge like the Light Brigade, uphill 193 across open ground. There's going to be little rock piles. We've got some craters in there the Germans can use for cover. There will be some blind spots. So if the, for instance, if the British and Commonwealth troops set up too much of their defense along this main line of resistance down here, and the Germans swing up here too much, you'll notice that their own position here, I think that's point 165, is actually going to block some British line of fire coming off the backside of their ridge. So the map's not quite as open as it looks, and again, I'm going to add some more like rubble and some more like boulder piles that the Germans can use to block line of sight. But it was pretty open. There wasn't a lot of trees here before the battle started, and trust me, whatever there was here was by now long dead. So there wasn't a lot of terrain, but there was I'm going to make sure that there's at least some on here just for the, to make the game, make sense. So I'll go ahead and save that. Yeah, the music gen does slow down. It's like a 5-minute piece that kind of, ends and kind of fades out, and then it kind of comes back in on a loop. Good grief, this is a big file. Hermagerd. Yeah, I make this file too big. One of the problems is I make this game or I make these files to play on my my new computer, which can totally handle this stuff. The problem is to create it in Photoshop. All my graphic software is back here on my old computer, and it gets a little sluggish, especially big files like that. Now, one thing I won't be making for this game in particular is are the counters, because the saint, and I mean that literally, the saint of wargaming, Barry Doyle, has created them for us. So again, one of the main units that we're going to be seeing is 1st, 4th Essex Rifles. So again, here's a British rifle platoon, or I should say a British rifle squad, circa 1943 to 44, post-desert. So these are British troops that you would see in Italy, so I should say Sicily, Italy, and Northwest Europe. Right now they are configured for physical play. You would print this out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet paper, paste it onto a nice sheet of cardboard very, very thoroughly, let it dry, and then cut it up with either a pair of scissors, not really recommended, or very, very carefully with a steel ruler and a very, very sharp hobby knife. And you will have an army of counters. And when I say army, I mean it. I mean like hundreds of troops. Again, each one of these pieces is an 8-man squad in very short order. But we are building this in virtual play, so I have to create them as such. The good news is I don't have to create every counter. One of the wonderful things about virtual gaming is once you create, a piece and you like it and it works for you, what are you doing to me here, machine? Copy and paste. There we go. Yeah, once you get a piece that you like and works for you, hey man, you know how easy it is to get reinforcements? Control C, Control V, 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 V. You can crank out troops like the Russians, man, or the Chinese. Now, there's a little bit of noise there. You guys probably see a little bit of that pixelation. I'm going to see if I can get rid of some of that. This is very, very basic Photoshop stuff. This isn't even like creative. It's just little tricks you do. Reduce noise a little bit. That's too much, because now they're getting look like they're foggy. That's probably good. Yeah, that's fine. Got rid of most of it, while still preserving the details of the troops. Make sure that the counter is still legible. And yeah, this is the easy part. Didn't even have to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and save as. The trick is to have to save it as a PNG. So here you see all my previous Americans and Germans. These are the special Americans we created for our for our Market Garden game. They all have 82nd Airborne in there, and some enhanced values to show them as elite troops. But for now, we're just going to say British. What are we looking at here? 43 to 45 infantry. Full squad. Yeah, World War II is pretty easy for Valor and Victory. The rules are simpler. There's none of crazy Ariskanes, modern upgrades to the system like casualties, prisoners of war, civilians, casualty evacuation, helicopters, IEDs. There's a lot of stuff that we've added to our modern sort of Valor and Victory rule set that we don't, that the original game by Barry Doyle does not have for World War II. One of the great things about Barry Doyle's original World War II game, it is accessible. The rulebook is free, the counters are free, the maps are free, everything is free. It's a nice, light rulebook. It's been play tested 1,000,001 times. It's got a huge community that supports it, and it will teach you infantry tactics organically, quickly, easily. Yeah, It's sort of a love letter to Squad Leader, Advanced Squad Leader from back in the 80s. Advanced Squad Leader would break your heart. I mean, I love me some Hex Encounter games. I'm going to be buried in my casket with a box of Panzer Leader. Advanced Squad Leader is a bit too much. It is like, oh my god, will you please give it a rest? You know, check to make sure the machine gun bullet doesn't hit a mosquito on its way to the target. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but it's a really thick game. It is, not playing around. But what Valor and Victory does is it sort of resurrects the spirit of that in a way where it's accessible to everybody. And the big thing that helps with this accessibility is, it's friggin' free, you know? A game is easy to get into if it's free. I mean, if you try it and don't like it, you know, you're out of maybe, all you've lost is half of an afternoon. It's fine. You're not out one thin dime, except maybe some printer toner and some paper. So units in Valor and Victory are made up of squads and half squads. It's nice and easy to tell the difference. Full squads have 2 figures on them. Half squads have 1 figure on them. And on top of that, the values are, divided in half. You've got firepower, that's the 4. Range is 6. 1 rifle shoots just as far as 2 rifles, so that number remains the same. And this is the casualty rating. This is pretty much how much meat that unit can put in front of enemy bullets. Of course, there's half as many guys in the unit now, so it reduces from a 2 to a 4. We got plenty of leaders here. We got Bren machine guns. British grenades. Again, these are usually the kind of counters I have to, a British sniper, these are usually the kind of counters I have to make myself, like from scratch. Sometimes literally, I have to sit down and draw the guy. But here, fortunately, I don't have to do that because, again, for the base game, Barry Doyle already has all his counters, prepared for us. So, again, I don't have to draw every single one of these, or not draw, but create every single one of these rifle rifle squads and half squads. I create 1 full squad, I create 1 half squad, boom. When it comes to the game, I'll just copy paste 20 of them, and I've got my army. It's literally that fast. I have to create 1 Bren carrier, 1 Bren gun, 1 grenade, 1 sniper, and then a bunch of leaders. The leaders I do have to do one at a time because they have different names. And by the way, if Gaz ever checks this out, this is when we actually start having fun with the stream, and we start putting in people's names as commanders. And now you're in the game. And oh, your counter just got wiped out. I'm sorry, Rasmus, you're dead. Or I'm sorry, Gaz, you're dead. For our Valor and Victory Market Garden game, we actually had the historical commanders of Howe and Ida Company, that, oh god, I can't remember which, I think it was the 304th Parachute Regiment. I may be wrong about that. It was definitely 82nd Airborne. And of course we had, the battalion commander that was there, so you can get as detailed with it as you want. So I'll be busy with those for about an hour or 2. I won't, do them all here on the stream. And of course, as I showed you before, we have plenty of Germans. Here are American paratroopers. Here are American Marines. I'm not a fan of his Marine counters, I'm not going to lie. I totally created my own World War II Marine counters. I mean, what the hell is that on his helmet there? I mean, is that supposed to be frog skinned? I'm not a fan. But he does give them nice thick numbers, so I do appreciate that. Now, he does a much better job here with his German Waffen SS. I mean, look at these guys. They look pretty badass. Now, there's no Waffen SS at this unit, or at this battle, but what there are, again, are our friends, the Fallschirmjäger. So just for fun, and to be fair, we're going to create a couple of Fallschirmjäger counters. These guys see much better with the noise. I see no pixelation around them, so I won't have to change their, reduce their pixelation, or alter their colors and all. German counters will look a little better than the British counters. Yeah, so that's a normal German officer. Notice he doesn't have any, paratrooper gear on. Oh no! Hell, I didn't copy that. Yeah, look at these units. 5, 5, 6, and E for elite. These guys are badass. I'm not even going to lie. They're going to be outnumbered by the British and Indian allies, or Commonwealth allies, but and they're going to be on the attack. But damn, dude. That E is huge. That stands for elite. That unlocks all kinds of abilities for them in the game. And again, they have much better numbers. They're not 4, 6, 4. They're 5, 5, 6. So they have higher firepower, slightly shorter range, because the British are all carrying Lee Enfields of one description or another. Whereas the Germans are carrying a mix of, Gewehr 43s, probably Gewehr 40s, who knows what else. Maybe even some old, K96 Mausers, but also plenty of MP40s and maybe even some Sturmgewehr 44s. Although March of 44 might be too early for that. But some submachine guns to be sure. So that's why they cut down their range a little bit. And the real nasty part is their casualty rating. A full squad has 6. A full British squad only has 4. And for the record, a regular German Wehrmacht squad only has 4. A U.S. Army squad only has 4. Fallschirmjäger are badass. You have British units that have a 6 as well, but they're going to be either British Paratroopers, SAS, Gurkhas, Coldstream Guards. Those are going to be your badass, British infantry. Soviet Guards have the same way. Pretty much your normal troops have a 4, your elite troops have a 6. Again, Valor and Victory doesn't try to bewilder you with too much detail. Nice, light, and accessible game. Which makes it really good for guys like me, because what we do is because the game isn't that complicated, we're able to sort of stack a whole bunch of oh god, I have to spell Fallschirmjäger. Fallschirmjäger without an umlaut, so I put an A after the E. Freshman German comes back to haunt me. Fallschirmjäger, full squad. .png, sweet. Super fast, get a half squad. Yeah, a Fallschirmjäger half squad has a 3 casualty resistance rating. It's almost as tough as a normal full squad that has a 4. These are some bad boys. To be sure. I mean, look at the results of Monte Cassino, and you'd be like, oh, no wonder it took 4 separate battles and almost 3 months. Actually, more than that. From February, at least February to May. So, damn, that's, February, March, April, May, that's like 4 months. 4 months, 4 battles. Major battles. Tanks, artillery, bombers, all kinds of shit. And they still, it was not a clean victory. The Germans didn't so much lose as they finally just kind of gave up. They more or less gave away Monte Cassino at the end. They're like, okay, fine, Jesus, take it. We have a new position already behind Rome. We'll fight you again. And again, the Allies never really got out of Italy. You could almost say the Germans won that campaign. If you measure victory by what the orders and objectives of the opposing commanders were, yeah, I'm sorry, the Germans won the Battle of Italy. Kesselring's orders, okay, the Americans are landing in Italy. The British are coming with them. The Allies are landing in Italy. Keep the Allies out of Germany and Austria. Okay. Now, he didn't hold Italy. Obviously, he wound up losing almost all of Italy. But there were still German troops fighting in Italy when the war ended. So, technically, by contrast, you have guys like Clark. I don't even remember who was running 8th Army at that point. I know it wasn't Montgomery, obviously. He was running 21st Army Group up there in Northwest Europe. But we got Clark, whoever was commanding the British 8th Army, and Alexander commanding 15th Army Group. His orders were to use Italy as a highway to get up into Austria, southern Germany. He expected to be in Munich by the end of the war. Guess how that worked out? Not too well. Alright, where did I put my Fallschirmjägers? Paratroopers, because I don't want to spell that word again. Okay, so what I'll probably do is, yeah, I mean, over the next day or two, it's been really busy at work, but definitely on Saturday, is, yeah, we'll finish this up. I'll finish up some more German support weapons. I pretty much already have most of my German support weapons done, because a Fallschirmjäger MG34 is the same as a Wehrmacht MG34. Market Garden. So, oh, damn it. I'm trying to show you guys, and it's just showing me this list. Give me icons. Yeah, we have German 20mm anti-aircraft guns. Everybody remembers this thing from Saving Private Ryan. The ubiquitous 5cm mortar, you know, stick grenades, an 88, because why not? I don't know if there's going to be an 88 in Sunday's game, but probably not. But we have them ready. Half-tracks, Kubelwagens. Again, these are all the... whatchamacallit, these are all the standard Wehrmacht officers. Our officers are going to be in paratrooper gear, obviously. Panzerstrikes, Panzerfaust, German snipers, German trucks. Yeah, so the Germans are pretty well set for support weapons. A German sniper. I'm just having to recreate their officers, and again, they're specialized Fallschirmjäger infantry. Number one, they have different graphics on them, and they have enhanced numbers and with the 5.56, and enhanced game value, or I should say special abilities, unlocked by this E designator up here in the upper right-hand corner. The only real World War II infantry I have right now are specialized or special-made U.S. Airborne, specifically U.S. Airborne Market Guard. Notice they have that big flag there on the corner. They're on their shoulder, which I just now realize is on there backwards. Oh, what risking it? You always get something wrong. This flag is on there right. That flag is on there backwards. I'm surprised Marty hasn't called me out on that yet. Again, grenades, bazookas, M3 Jeeps. This is all fine, but it's the wrong army. I have to build all this pretty much from scratch for the British. Again, I have the counter set, so it's not that big a deal. It's just going to take about an hour. What I will also be doing is creating some British support weapons. So again, they had the Piat, which is, you know, we saw on that sheet, the brand carrier, grenades, snipers, things like that, and some British, you know, commanders. Now, what I might do, I'll do research and I'll see how much these guys were really involved. Is for some of these guys, especially the infantry teams, I'll change the headgear and I'll make them actually look like soldiers of the Raj Rifles. Because according to the best information I can find so far, they were there. So of course now I'm not going to be able to find it. Yeah, first and sixth Raj Rifles were there. Oh, there it is. 2 companies of 1st and 4th Essex, elements of 4th and 6th, and 1st and 6th Raj Rifles. They were holding Castle Hill on 15th to 20th March 1944. They were actually counterattacked by Fallschirmjäger out of point 236 and the Hotel Continental on 19 March 1944. So clearly that falls in that date bracket. And that's where we're going to have to, you know, see if the Allies can hold. We're going to do that limited German counterattack at Castle Hill there on point 193. So clearly, the reason for this conversation is clearly we have some Commonwealth troops there. So I'm going to research a little bit better what kind of headgear they wore, because again, some of them were Hindu and some of them were what we would call today Pakistani. And I mean, Raj, I'm pretty sure that's an Indian unit. It may be a Sikh regiment. So I'm going to have to do research and make sure I get it right. I don't want to get that kind of detail wrong. And once I get the right kind of headgear, I'll approximate it there on my counters. And off we go. I'll do a little bit of graphic modification. You know, I'll take off these little Tommy hats, and I'll give them the right kind of headgear, and we'll have some actual, you know, Commonwealth representation there on the table. And of course, plenty of German Fallschirmjägers. We've already talked about them. And I think that's about it for today, guys. I've already closed down the map because it was eating up way too much of my virtual memory. That's a big file. That's like a 400 meg file. Yeah, so obviously I've got a little bit of midnight oil to burn here before we're ready to go on this, but the good news is I've got some time, so I can probably do most of this work on Saturday. Other than that, Sorry, I'm painting while the stream is on my phone. I can't see shit. Oh, okay, cool, no worries. Oh, P. Beckus, how you doing? Lucky enough to do a battle. Wait, P. Beckus morning. Jen, why are you posting that? Was he posting on YouTube? Am I on the wrong channel here? Oh, hello. Cool. Hello, P. Beckus. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we're just doing a general show here. We're getting ready for a light recreation. Let me see when your it doesn't say when your comment was, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. We're doing a light recreation of part of the Battle of Monte Cassino, specifically the third, specifically German Fallschirmjäger counterattack on Castle Hill, March 1944. We're going to be putting two companies of 1st, 4th Essex and a little bit of Raj Rifles up against company strength, maybe a little bit more of German Fallschirmjäger. One thing that Piotr and I are having a bit of issue with in our research, we have two completely contradictory sources. One source says that they had excellent, the British and their Commonwealth allies had excellent artillery support from like 3 field artillery regiments. He lists them by name in like regimental orders or whatever, commendations. So they had a lot of artillery support by at least what he's saying there in his the actual commander's after action report. We have other sources that say that one of the big reasons that battle was so tough is they had no artillery support. So maybe they had artillery support for like one day of the battle, but not another. I don't know. We'll have to work that out. Artillery support in Valor and Victory is often where you get your game balance, because you know what the terrain looked like, you know how many people were there, you know what kind of troops they were, you can build all that out, and your game is horribly one-sided. So you give the other side some artillery support. Artillery support is the great equalizer in a Valor and Victory scenario, when you're at least in the design phase, when you're trying to actually balance a good game. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Monte Cassino and Pompeii would be pretty close together. They're both right around Naples. I think I closed down the map that actually... Let me see if I can find it again. That I haven't ruined yet. Yeah, so yeah, I kind of wrecked it, it looks like, but that's okay. I can get another copy of it. Yeah, they landed there at Salerno. You've got Naples, so that Bay of Naples right around in there. Right around there is where that volcano is. And again, yeah, Cassino's right up the road. Italy is not exactly a huge country, so there aren't a lot of miles on this map. It looks like about 25 miles, maybe 50 miles between Cassino and Naples. So yeah, not far at all. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream for now. Very happy to see some people on YouTube as well as on Twitch. If there's anybody watching us on Facebook, I do apologize. I don't have visibility into Facebook from this window that I'm working with here. So apologize if I'm missing comments and traffic over there on Facebook. But for everybody on Twitch and YouTube, we definitely appreciate it. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and close out our stream here. Thanks very much for swinging by on our Sitrep General Show. We're going to, again, we're aiming at a pretty decent little scrap here at Monte Cassino for our, World War II, or for our Sunday game. We're probably going to start that around 2 p.m. Eastern, our normal time. So, I mean, wherever you are in the world, that's what time it's going to be. We might do it a little earlier. We may start at 1. I'll post notifications about that if people are interested, because again, my opponent is in southern Poland, so yeah, we're literally global. We're all over the place, and with him being 7 hours ahead of me, it's not really cool for him to start a game at 3 p.m. my time, 10 p.m. his time, and then the game lasts for 2 or 3 hours, because then he's got to go to work on Monday. Cool. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks very much for all the support here on Sitrep Podcast. Stay tuned during the week where we'll try to have, again, we're going to have a game going on Sunday. We'll hopefully have something up on Tuesday, and of course always our general show on Thursday. So thanks again, and take care everybody, and I'll be in touch throughout the rest of the week. So long, everybody.